I grew up in North London and decided that I hated the suburbs, so I moved to Peckham about 4 years ago. I used to write books, like illustrate storybooks when I was a kid, and I always used to draw circuses for some reason. And then when I got to kind of like my teen years and I started to get more kind of interested in culture, I always used to buy like Q magazine and like really naff music magazines and redraw like band logos like Blink 182 like in different handwriting, and I was always kind of obsessed with drawing letters by hand, and that was kind of like my childhood, drawing constantly and painting, and wanted to be fucking either an astronaut or an artist. I think it was like the two options. But I've always known that I wanted to do design and I wanted to do art in some way or another, but the illustration factor was kind of more accidental. It was just kind of a medium that I found fun to use, and I got results from it, and then people liked it, so I carried on doing it. But that's kind of more in the background now. I try to do more design now. It has more depth, not span, as the philosophers would say. I have completely two different sides of my typographic work. One which is just like completely like like random shapes and colours that just like are exciting and like bright and engaging, and then there's other type work that I do which is more based on theory and geometry and maths, and you know, trying to create an alphabet using certain rules and certain creative rules as well. Like, you know, can you go to Paris and can you design an alphabet which is inspired by Paris, or can you and I've always thought that type was one of those mediums that you could play around with it a lot more, and it's so small, it's much easier to focus on, rather than I'm going to design a book. You can actually just narrow it all right the way down to I'm going to do a typeface and then see what kind of grows up from that, rather than doing it the other way around. And the last two projects I worked on were, I did a short film and kind of illustration piece on insomnia, which was quite elaborate and involved like quite DIY techniques of capturing footage, and I did a stop frame animation using an OHP and different like acetate sheets and projected it and then refilmed it. And then another thing that I've been really interested in is Gestalt theory, and I built some typefaces using the kind of frameworks of Gestalt, and then also have been looking at a lot of the other kind of philosophers and psychologists who've studied Gestalt, and I'm moving on to like new things from there. And the two most important things on my kind of calendar now for the future are perhaps, yeah, the book that I'm working on at the moment, which is kind of top secret, but is in a nutshell about trying to capture what's happening in London at the moment in the visual arts and music kind of arena, and that's going to be involving lots of creative people and people who I've met through the industry and people who have come to meet through the planning of the book. And so far I've got about 25 contributors, and we're just going through image selection and writing the actual body for the book at the moment. And then the other thing that I'm looking into is having a solo show, which should be next year at some point, which I'm really interested to do, but I still need to kind of focus on what I want to say with it, and I don't just want to, you know, put up bits of work on the walls. I actually want to have something that is in itself a piece of work. So whether or not I stay in the space or like work within the space while people come to the exhibition, or create work during the exhibition, or document it in a way that produces something else, that's kind of my biggest goal for the next 2 years. Well, my work would be scattered all over the streets of London, I'm sure, in gutters and bars and record shops and anywhere, but you can find more about me on my website, and you know, you just have to Google my name and you kind of get, you even get like the speech that was at my bat mitzvah and stuff. But there's lots to read, and there's a few blogs and interviews around as well.